Welcome back. In our last lesson, we got a basic introduction to sentence structure. And in this lesson, we'll look at how we can start to connect sentences together. So I'll explain about changing verbs into nouns, how to create adjectives, and talking about verb states. And I'll be covering topics here that are for beginners, but also that are for more advanced learners. But first, let's take a quick look at all of the topics that I'll be covering in this lesson for each difficulty level. There will be a slide just like this one at the start of each lesson, so you can easily see which topics to focus on. You can pause here if you need more time. First, this will be a quick review of nominalization, changing a verb into a noun. For more practice and review of this concept, search my channel for lessons. After reviewing basic nominalization, we'll also learn several other ways to describe and extend sentences. Being able to describe a verb, an action verb or descriptive verb, means that you'll be able to make longer and more natural sentences. For example, I speak Korean. It is easy sounds less natural than just saying, speaking Korean is easy. We'll need to change a verb into a noun in order to describe it like this. In English, this means changing a verb into the ing noun form. For example, to swim would become swimming. There are two main ways of doing this, with the key form and with the nun-got form. First, let's review the key form. The key form is not commonly used when simply describing a verb in a sentence, such as when saying swimming is difficult. Instead, use the next form that we'll review, nun-got, when describing verbs like this. The key form is commonly used when changing a verb into a noun that's not being described in a sentence. For example, when making a to-do list, like saying swimming, studying, cleaning. Therefore, the key form is the most common way to change a verb into a noun when it's used in a grammar form. This is because the verb's not being described, but is simply being used for a grammar form. I'll explain which nominalization form to use along with each grammar form throughout this course. So, to use it, attach ki directly after a verb stem. For example, 하다 would become 하기.
공부하기 시작했어요.
I started studying.
이건 만들기 쉬워요.
This is easy to make.
이건 먹기 싫어요.
I hate eating this.
아침은 산책하기에 좋은 시간이에요.
The morning is a good time to take a walk.
뉴스 듣기, 요약해서 적기, 의견 말하기.
Listening to the news, summarizing it and writing it down, saying opinions.
내일까지 사진 보내기.
Sending the photo by tomorrow. The nun-got form is commonly used when describing a verb in a sentence. For very simple sentences, such as I like swimming, both ki and nun-got can be used to describe a verb. However, in these cases, nun-got will still sound more natural. For example, the sentence 수영하는 것을 좋아해요, meaning I like swimming, sounds more natural and is more common than saying 수영하기를 좋아해요. So to use it, attach nun-got directly after an action verb stem in the present tense. So 하다 would become 하는 것. Optionally, 것 can shorten to 거. This is more common in everyday speech. Note though, if the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it first. So the verb 놀다 would become 노는 것.
한글 배우는 것이 쉬워요.
Learning Hangul is easy.
한국어를 가르치는 것이 재미있어요.
Teaching Korean is fun.
공부하는 것이 중요해요.
Studying is important.
감기에는 차를 마시는 것이 좋아요.
Drinking tea is good for a cold.
자꾸 반복하는 것이 지루해요.
Repeating it over and over is boring.
빨리 하는 것이 좋겠어요.
It would be better to do it quickly. The key form can be used together with the topic marker nun to add more emphasis to any verb, action verb or descriptive verb. This form, ki nun, is commonly used together with the verb 하다, meaning to do. For example, 하다 can become 하기는 하다. The 기는 하다 form adds emphasis to the verb and sounds like the speaker is admitting something, but not completely. More practically, this adds emphasis to the do meaning in an action verb or the is meaning in a descriptive verb. For example, I do like Korean food, but it's sometimes spicy. Or it is cold today, but I'm not going outside. To use it, attach 기는 하다 directly after a verb stem in the present tense. So 하다 would just become 하기는 하다. Then conjugate 하다. In everyday speech, 기는 can shorten to 긴.
사람이 많긴 해요.
There are a lot of people.
맛있긴 하지만 너무 비싸요.
It is delicious, but it's too expensive.
거기가 맛집이기는 해요.
There is a top-rated restaurant.
수학도 공부를 하기는 해요.
I study mathematics too.
주차를 잘 못하기는 해요.
I can't park well.
저도 그걸 보기는 해요.
I also watch that. The 기는 form can also be used without 하다 by repeating the verb again. This is less common, but adds extra emphasis.
오늘 날씨가 덥기는 정말 덥네요.
The weather today is really hot.
시간이 빠르긴 빨라.
Time is really fast.
돈이 있기는 있지만 쓰기 싫어요.
I have money, but I hate spending it.
그 가수를 좋아하기는 좋아하는데 잘 몰라요.
I like that singer, but I don't know them well. The 기 form can also be used together with the particle 도, meaning also, even, or to mean even or also. This form 기도 is also used together with the verb 하다, meaning to do. For example, 하다 can become 하기도 하다. The 기도하다 form shows that something even or also does with an action verb, or even or also is with the descriptive verb. Essentially, this is just adding the meaning of the particle 도 onto a verb instead of onto a noun. For example, I love Korea. I even love Korean dramas. Or it's too big and it's also too expensive. To use it, attach 기도하다 directly after a verb stem in the present tense. So again, 하다 would become 하기도 하다. Then conjugate 하다.
가끔 제가 하기도 해요.
Sometimes I even do it.
좋아하기도 하고 싫어하기도 해요.
I also like it and I also hate it.
저는 한국어를 하기도 해요.
I also speak Korean.
9월에 눈이 오기도 하나요?
Does it also snow in September?
생으로 먹기도 해요.
I even eat it raw.
계란은 건강하기도 하고 싸기도 해요.
Eggs are also healthy and also cheap. The 기도 form can also be used without 하다 by repeating the verb again. This is less common but adds extra emphasis. It's commonly used with the forms 지만 or 대, which mean but this is used to mean and.
꽃이 참 크기도 크네요.
The flowers are even really big.
생선은 맛있기도 맛있지만 몸에 좋아요.
Fish is also delicious, but, or and, it's good for your body.
김밥은 싸기도 싸지만 먹기 편해요.
Kimbap is also cheap, but, or and, it's easy to eat.
과학은 어렵기도 어려운데 자꾸 바뀌어요.
Science is also difficult, but, or and, it keeps changing. The form 기는 can also be used when disagreeing with someone else. If we think of nominalization as the ing noun form, this usage is similar to English. For example, studying? I didn't study at all. Attach 요 when speaking politely. Note that when used in this way, 기는 itself is technically a sentence ending. However, it's commonly also used between two sentences to connect them.
키가 크기는요, 보통이죠.
I'm tall? I'm normal.
대단하기는요, 다들 하는 건데.
It's incredible? It's something everyone does.
고맙기는요, 어차피 가는 길이에요.
Thanks? Meaning no problem. It's on the way anyway. When using the form 기는 to disagree with someone else, it can also be used together with a question word such as 뭐, meaning what, or 어디, meaning where, to add extra emphasis, and makes the sentence sound like a question.
이게 맛있긴 뭐가 맛있어요?
This is delicious? What's delicious about it?
예쁘긴 어디가 예뻐?
She's pretty? Where, meaning what about her, is pretty? Another essential topic for creating longer sentences is understanding how to change verbs into adjectives, both action verbs and descriptive verbs. Let's first review how to change descriptive verbs into adjectives. For example, I saw a cat. It is small. Sounds less natural than saying I saw a small cat. We could change the descriptive verb 작다, meaning to be small, into an adjective 작은, and then say 작은 고양이, meaning small cat. Let's start with the present tense. In the cat example, 작은 고양이 means small cat, but it also literally means cat that is, present tense, small. Most often when describing things, the present tense adjective form will be used. We'll also review the past tense and the future tense after. For additional practice on this topic, also download my 2 free adjective cheat sheets. There's a link in the video description box. So, rule 1. If the verb stem ends with a consonant, attach 은. If it ends with a vowel, attach 니은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 2. If the verb stem ends with the consonant 비읍, remove it. Then attach 우, followed by 니은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 3. If the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it. Then attach 니은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 4. If the verb stem ends with the consonant hiat, remove it. Then attach 니은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. For the past tense, we could say movie that was fun. 재미있는 영화 means a movie that is fun or a fun movie. 재미있었던 영화 means a movie that was fun. To make a past tense adjective using a descriptive verb, simply conjugate the descriptive verb to the past tense as usual and remove everything after the final double 시옷. Then attach 던. For example, 작다 conjugates to the past tense as 작았어 or 작았어요. If we remove everything after the final double 시옷, we're left with 작았. Then attach 던, and we get 작았던. There are no exceptions. Let's look at a few examples. You can pause the video here. Also remember that 이다, meaning to be, can conjugate as either 이었어요 or 였어요, depending on whether it's used after a consonant or after a vowel. So this will become either 이었던 or 였던. For the future tense, we could say movie that will be fun. 재미있는 영화 means a movie that is fun or a fun movie. 재미있었던 영화 means a movie that was fun. 재미있을 영화 means a movie that will be fun. To make a future tense adjective using a descriptive verb, the steps are the same as the present tense. Simply change 니은 to lir. For example, 작다 conjugates to the present tense as 작은 and to the future tense as 작을. Let's review the rules. Rule 1. If the verb stem ends with a consonant, attach 을. If the verb stem ends with a vowel, attach lir. Here's some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 2. If the verb stem ends with the consonant pi업, remove it. Then attach 우, followed by lir. Here's some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 3. If the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it. Then attach lir. So you get the same thing. Here's some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 4. If the verb stem ends with the consonant hiat, remove it, then attach lir. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Next, let's review how to change action verbs into adjectives. For example, I saw a cat. It is sleeping. Sounds less natural than saying, I saw a cat that is sleeping. We could change the action verb 잠을 자다, meaning to sleep, into an adjective 잠자는, and then say 잠자는 고양이, a cat that is sleeping. Let's start with the present tense. In the cat example, 잠자는 고양이 means sleeping cat, but it also literally means cat that is, present tense, sleeping. Rule 1. Attach 는 to the verb stem. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 2. If the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it. Then attach 는. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. For the past tense, we could say cat that slept. 잠을 자는 고양이 means a cat that is sleeping or a sleeping cat. 잠을 잔 고양이 means a cat that slept. To make a past tense adjective using an action verb, there are a few rules that we'll need to review. Let's look at those rules. Rule 1. If the verb stem ends with a consonant, attach 은. If the verb stem ends with a vowel, attach 니은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 2. If the verb stem ends with the consonant 시옷, remove it. Then attach 은. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 3. If the verb stem ends with the consonant pi업, remove it. Then attach 우 followed by nian. This rule does not always apply. Here are some examples and some exceptions. You can pause the video here. Rule 4. If the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it, then attach nian. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 5. If the verb stem ends with the consonant tigut, replace tigut with lir, then attach eun. This rule does not always apply. Here are some examples and exceptions. You can pause the video here. For the future tense, we could say cat that will sleep. 잠을 자는 고양이 means a cat that is sleeping or a sleeping cat. 잠을 잔 고양이 means a cat that slept. 잠을 잘 고양이 means a cat that will sleep. To make a future tense adjective using an action verb, the steps are the same as the past tense. Simply change nian to lir. For example, 잠을 자다 conjugates to the past tense as 잠을 잔 and to the future tense as 잠을 잘. Let's review the rules. Rule 1. If the verb stem ends with a consonant, attach 을. If the verb stem ends with a vowel, attach lir. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 2. If the verb stem ends with the consonant 시옷, remove it, then attach 을. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 3. If the verb stem ends with the consonant piup, remove it, then attach u followed by lir. This rule does not always apply. Here are some examples and some exceptions. You can pause the video here. Rule 4. If the verb stem ends with the consonant lir, remove it, then attach lir, so it looks the same. Here are some examples. You can pause the video here. Rule 5. If the verb stem ends with the consonant tigut, replace tigut with lir, then attach 을. This rule does not always apply. Here are some examples and exceptions. You can pause the video here. When using the negative form 지 않다, this will become an adjective differently depending on the type of verb. For the present tense, action verbs will become 지 않는, and descriptive verbs will become 지 않은. For the past tense, action verbs will become 지 않은, and descriptive verbs will become 지 않았던. And for the future tense, action verbs and descriptive verbs will both become 지 않을. Here are some notes. Grammar forms taught in this course that require using adjectives will not review these rules. Take notes from this lesson and use those notes whenever you need to review. Again, for additional practice, you can also download my 2 free adjective cheat sheets. There's a link in the video description box. Okay, now let's start with the first form. iraneun is used to describe a noun as being called or named something. It's used to clarify or explain something that the speaker thinks the listener might not know. It originally comes from the verb 이다, meaning to be, and the quoting form 이라고 말하는, meaning that someone says is. For example, A이라는 B means B that is called or named A. Instead of saying, this is a side dish and it is kimchi, it would be more natural to say, this is a side dish called kimchi. Or instead of saying, this is my friend and he is 철수, it would be more natural to say, this is my friend called 철수. In everyday speech, iraneun can also be shortened to iran. To use it, attach iraneun after a noun that ends with a consonant, or attach 라는 if it ends with a vowel. So, 라면 would be 라면이라는, and 김치 would be 김치라는.
빌리라는 선생님을 아세요?
Do you know the teacher named Billy?
봄이라는 책을 읽었어요.
I read a book called Spring.
영희라는 사람한테 전화가 왔어요.
I got a phone call from a person named 영희.
아나운서라는 직업에 대해 배웠어요.
I learned about the job called an announcer.
떡꼬치라는 음식을 먹었어요.
I ate a food called 떡꼬치.
그건 영어로 사랑이라는 뜻이에요.
That means love in English. 이라는 can also be used with 것, meaning thing, and literally means a thing called or something called. 이라는 것 is used to define something.
공부란 것은 끝이 없어요.
Studying has no end.
순댓국이라는 것을 처음 봤어요.
I saw something called 순댓국 for the first time.
사랑이란 건 뭘까요?
What could love be?
시간이란 것은 돈으로 살 수 없어요.
You can't buy time with money.
마음이란 것은 영어로 어떻게 말해요?
How do you say 마음 in English? Remember that 이라는 comes from the verb 이다, meaning to be, and the quoting form 이라고 말하는, meaning that someone says is. Any verb, not only 이다, can be shortened with a quoting form in this way, and with any noun. For example, 하다, meaning to do, can become 한다고 as a quoting form, which can become 한다고 말하는. This can shorten to simply 한다는. Literally, the form 다는 means something that someone says is or that someone says does. For example, the verb 먹다, meaning to eat, can become 먹는다는, meaning that someone says someone eats. 철수가 먹는다는 것 means thing that is said that 철수 eats, or possibly just thing that 철수 says he eats. So we can use this form to make various sentences like, this is the thing that 철수 says he eats, or what is the thing that they say 철수 eats? By adding 것, meaning thing, 다는 것 means the thing that someone says verb. More naturally, this can translate as the fact that, or just that. By adding 말, meaning words, 다는 말 literally means words that someone says, or simply what someone says. By adding 사실, 다는 사실 literally means the fact that someone says, or simply the fact that. To use it, attach nun directly after a regular quoting form in any tense without 고. So 하다 would become 한다는. Let's look at examples using several nouns, starting with 것.
철수도 한국어를 잘한다는 것을 몰랐어요.
I didn't know the fact that 철수 also speaks Korean well.
뭐든 먹을 수 있다는 것은 행복입니다.
Being able to eat anything is happiness.
김밥이 맛있다는 집에 갔어요.
I went to a restaurant where they say the kimbap is delicious.
영희가 이사 간다는 얘기를 들었어요?
Did you hear the talk that Younghee is moving?
가수가 온다는 말이 진짜예요?
Is it true that they say a singer is coming here?
시금치가 몸에 좋다는 사실을 배웠어요.
I learned the fact that spinach is good for your body. And that's all for this lesson. Remember to take your time, take lots of notes, and practice everything in this lesson before moving on, and I'll see you again in the next lesson. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!